Good morning to Madam Nur Hafizah binti Yaakob. Nice to meet you. So this is our group. The chapter that we will be present is chapter 7, which is organizational culture. Our group member is Barnabas Brandon, Valerie Rachel, Raymond Anayan, and Crystal Aaron Johnny. So let's get started. So, what is organizational culture? Organizational culture is referred to a system of shared meaning by member that distinguish the organization from other organization. Apa yang saya maksudkan di sini adalah budaya organisasi adalah sistem yang dikongsi bersama yang membezakan satu organisasi dengan satu organisasi. So apa yang kita boleh faham melalui budaya organisasi adalah dia adalah sistem yang sama, dia dikongsi oleh pekerja di syarikat tersebut bersama, tetapi dia yang membezakan dia adalah pelbagai organisasi berbeza. Maksud saya di sini ada organisasi B dan ada organisasi A. Lepas ini nanti kita akan terus tengok contoh budaya organisasi A dengan budaya organisasi B. So characteristic in organization culture, dia ada satu, innovation and risk taking. What I mean by innovation and risk taking is the organization will take a risk. Mereka akan mengambil peluang, mengambil risiko dalam membuat sesuatu. Yang kedua, attention to details. Maksudnya di sini adalah dia akan memberikan perhatian yang penuh kepada butiran-butiran yang diperlukan oleh organisasi tersebut. Yang ketiga, outcome orientation. Mereka di sini adalah dimaksudkan dalam budaya organisasi adalah hasil dia. Apa hasil diperoleh daripada setiap organisasi tersebut. Yang seterusnya adalah people orientation, yang dimaksudkan siapa target mereka, apa yang mereka nak buat dengan orang tersebut. Seterusnya adalah team orientation, yaitu setiap organisasi, kan dalam pejabat ada setiap organisasi, so setiap organisasi tersebut dia ada kumpulan dia sendiri, dia ada tim dia sendiri. So the team will take a risk, the team will take the innovation in the organizational culture. Seterusnya adalah aggressiveness. Apa yang maksud dalam aggressiveness adalah budaya saing. Syarikat yang budaya saing. Kita pun tahu kan di Malaysia terdapat pelbagai jenis organisasi yang sanggup dan mempunyai budaya saing yang sangat kuat. Dan yang terakhir adalah stability. Of course, dalam setiap organisasi kita akan pentingkan stability dalam setiap pejabat, setiap organisasi. So ini adalah karakteristik dia tadi, saya ulang. Yang pertama, innovation and risk taking. Yang kedua, attention to details. Yang ketiga, outcome orientation. Yang keempat, people orientation. Yang kelima, team orientation. Yang keenam, aggressiveness. Dan yang terakhir adalah stability. So seterusnya, saya akan menerangkan situasi yang berbeza di mana between organization A and organization B. The contrast, perbezaan antara organisasi A dengan organisasi B. So, the first is organization A. Manager must fully document all the decision. Second, creative decision, change and risks are not encouraged. Third, extension rules and regulation exist for all employees. Number 4, productivity is value over employee morale. Number 5, employees are encouraged to stay within their own department. And number 6, the last one is individual effort is encouraged. So, apa yang saya boleh simpulkan melalui di organisasi A adalah, pertama, mereka melakukan keputusan dengan bersertakan dokumen sepenuhnya. Pengurus, manager, dia akan menguruskan semua dokumen dengan selengkapnya dan sepenuhnya. Yang kedua, perubahan keputusan yang sangat kreatif tetapi tidak berisiko. Yang ketiga adalah usaha pekerja sangat digalakkan, dan yang terakhir adalah pekerja digalakkan untuk berada di setiap tempat yang mereka kerja saja. Di setiap department mereka, their own department. The worker are just doing their works on their own department, not other department. So, organisasi B pula, organization B, let's take a look. Organization B, management encourage and reward risk-taking change. Employees are encouraged to run with idea, and failure are treated as learned experience. Number 3, employees have few rules and regulation to follow. Number 4, productivity is balanced with treating its people right. Number 5, team members are encouraged to interact with all people, which all level and function. And number 6 is many reward are team based. Apa yang saya boleh simpulkan melalui organisasi B, dia berbeza dengan organisasi A. Kalau organisasi A, mereka menggalakkan pekerja mereka mengambil risiko. Tetapi mereka tidak menggalakkan kalau pekerja mereka mengambil risiko yang terlalu berat. Tetapi di organisasi B, mereka menggalakkan pekerja mereka mengambil risiko saja. Sebab kalau mereka gagal, mereka anggap itu sebagai learn experience, sebagai pengajaran mereka kalau mereka gagal. Mereka selalu berkongsi idea, selalu berkongsi pendapat, tetapi kalau gagal, mereka terima sebab mereka dalam proses belajar. Itu yang dimaksud perbezaan mereka yang pertama tadi. Yang kedua, kalau di organisasi B, mereka tiada peraturan yang kalau di organisasi A, mereka tiada peraturan yang ditetapkan. Tetapi di organisasi B, mereka ada peraturan dan undang-undang yang perlu dipatuhi oleh setiap pekerja. There are a few rules to all the worker. They must have to make all the things with all the rules that are applied in the organization. Dan yang terakhir, apa yang saya boleh simpulkan melalui perbezaan organisasi A dengan organisasi B ini tadi adalah kalau organisasi A, dia tidak menggalakkan pekerja dia untuk keluar daripada department mereka. They are not allowed to have worker go to another department. The worker in organization A have to stay on their own department. Manakala yang di organisation B ini pula, para pekerja dia adalah mereka perlu berinteraksi dengan department lain. Mereka perlu menjalankan tugas dengan department lain dan banyak memberi manfaat kepada organisasi B. So next, seterusnya saya akan menjelaskan tentang do organization have uniform culture. Seperti yang telah tertera di PC Anda ataupun di laptop Anda masing-masing, dia ada dua culture. Okay, yang pertama, the first one is dominant culture. What means by dominant culture is budaya yang telah dikuasai, budaya yang telah diguna pakai. So, express the core value that are shared by a majority of the organization member. Maksudnya di sini adalah dominant culture ni, budaya yang telah dikuasai ini menyatakan nilai-nilai yang keras yang dikongsi oleh majority ahli. Maksudnya di sini adalah they are share with all the worker, all the knowledge they are share with all the worker. Dan yang seterusnya adalah subculture. Subculture is many culture within an organization, typically divided by department, designation, and geographical separation. Di subculture ni, dia lebih kepada tempat mereka bekerja tersebut. Dia boleh ditarif oleh penetapan tempat mereka bekerja dan tempat itu adalah dipisahkan oleh geografi. Itu yang dimaksudkan dengan subculture tersebut. So, the next one, I will The next slide. So the next slide is, do organizations have uniform cultures? So the first one is core culture. Core culture is what I means by nilai teras. In bahasa Malaysia, core culture is nilai teras. So the primary or dominated values are accepted throughout the organization. Apa saya maksudkan di sini adalah nilai utama. Dalam nilai utama ini tadi adalah dimaksudkan dengan core culture, nilai utama yang dikuasai, nilai utama atau yang dikuasai oleh syarikat tersebut yang diterima di seluruh organisasi. Manakala yang kedua adalah strong culture, yaitu dimaksudkan dengan budaya organisasi yang kukuh. A culture in which the core value are intensely held and widely shared. Maksudnya di sini adalah nilai teras yang sangat sengit yang dipegang oleh pekerja dan dikongsi secara meluas oleh syarikat tersebut ataupun pekerja tersebut. So that's all from me. So next I will give it to Barnabas Brandon.
Morning to Madam Noor Hafiza binti Yaakob. Let me just start by introducing myself. My name is Barnabas Brandon Ana Zrendidi, and my metric card number is 20DSK18F 2012. What I'd like to present to you today is what do cultures do? How cultures begin, keeping culture alive, and lastly, stages in the socialization process in this chapter 7. My presentation will take about more or less than 5 minutes. Okay, I'll be looking at what do cultures do. Okay, as you can see here, the first one is culture has a boundary defining role. It's when culture creates distinction between one organization and others. And second, culture conveys a sense of identity. It's mean the sense of identity is conveyed to the organization members. Okay, and the third one is culture facilitates the generations of commitment. It's mean commitment is for something larger than one's individual self-interest. And fourth, culture enhance social system stability. It's mean culture is the social glue that provides appropriate standards for what employees should say and do. And lastly, culture serve as a sense making and control mechanism. That's mean this mechanism guides and shapes attitudes and behaviors of employee. Okay. The second slide here that shows how culture begins. First, founders hire and keep employees who think and feel the same way. The founder, the employers, they must find the founders that, I mean the employees, the founders will keep the employees, pekerja yang sama pemikiran mereka dan perasaan yang sama dengan founders, alright, the employer. And second, they indoctrinate and socialize this employee to their way of thinking and feeling. Okay, diorang akan mengajak employees mereka the way of the thinking dan perasaan mereka, pemikiran mereka dan perasaan mereka sama seperti apa yang employer buat. Okay, and next is founders on behavior X as a role model. Founder dia behavior dia adalah sebagai role model kepada semua employees di sana. Okay, kalau ketiga-tiga ni bercantum maka ia akan membentukkan organisasi yang berjaya. And the founder vision becomes seen as primary determinant of that success in English. Okay, next slide. Third, in this part of my presentation, let's now look at the slide which shows here that how culture begins. As you can see here, it shows three main points here. First is selection. Provide information to candidates about organization, and this can help the new employees know what about the culture. Okay, second is top management. Senior executive help establish behavior norms that are adopted by the organization. This is important because this can make the employee know the behavior norms that should be followed by them. Them's it's targeted at the employees. And lastly is socialization. Helps new employees adapt to the culture so they will comfortable to each other. All right. And and lastly, as you can see, there are three main points also in the slide that were all the stages in the socialization process. Okay, at the first stage is pre-arrival stage. Period of learning that occurs just before a new employee joins the organization. This is important because the new employee needs to learn something to let them easy to do their jobs. And second is encounter stage. The new employee sees what the organization is really like and confronts the possibility that expectation and reality may diverge. Lastly is metamorphosis stage. A new employee changes and adjusts to the job, work, group, and organization. And that's all my presentation. Thank you. And next will be presented by Valerie Rachel.
Thank you, Brendan. Okay. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Valerie Rachel Anakonsun. Okay. Sekarang ini saya akan terangkan what is a socialization model. Okay. So terdapat, as you can see, there are 2 points, which is socialization process and outcome. Okay, for socialization process, terdapat ada 3, yaitu pre-arrival, encounter, and metamorphosis. For outcomes, which is productivity, commitment, and turnover. Okay, next slide. Okay, for socialization process, for pre-arrival, the period of learning in the socialization process that occurs before a new employee joins the organization. For encounter, a new employee sees what the organization is really like and confronts the possibility that expectation and reality may diverge. For metamorphosis stage, the stage in the socialization process in which a new employee changes and adjusts to the work group, and organization. Next slide. Oke, seperti yang Anda lihat di sini, terdapat 4 organization cultures form, yaitu philosophy of organization founders, selection criteria, top management, and socialization. Okay. Next slide. Okay. How organization cultures form. Okay. First, philosophy of organization founders. The philosophy of an organization is like the personality or character of the organization. This character is typically derived from the organization's founder. For selection criteria, the selection process can be defined as the process of selection and shortlisting of the right necessary qualifications and skills. Third, top management. These managers are responsible for controlling and overseeing the entire organization. They they develop goals, strategic plans, company policies, and make decisions on the direction of the business. And lastly, socialization. The process where an individual learns about and adjusts to the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and expectations. It is a dynamic process when an individual assumes a new or changing role within an organization. Next slide. How employees learn culture. Terdapat ada 4 poin, yaitu story, ritual, and material symbols, and language. Okay, next slide. Okay. For story, circulating inspiring stories through the organization, the present, in the past, and the current practices. Employees create their own narratives about the first experience in the organization. For rituals, repetitive sequences of activities that express and reinforce of the organization. For example, using corporate chant to motivate and unite the workforce. Next slide. And for material symbols, what conveys to employees who is important, the degree of top management desires, and the kinds of behavior and that are appropriate. Types of automobiles given to top executive and attire are among materials that symbolize the culture of an organization. And lastly, for language, language is used to help members identify with the culture, attest to their acceptance of it, and help preserve the culture. Use the unique terms to describe the equipment. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie Rachel. Before I start with my presentation, let me introduce myself. My name is Crystal Aaron Johnny. So what I'm going to present is about creating a customer responsive culture. There are 2 of it, which is key variables shaping customer responsive culture and managerial action. So what are the key variables shaping customer responsive culture? First is the types of employees hired by the organization. Second is law formalization, the freedom to meet customer service requirements. Third is empowering employees with decision-making discretion to please the customer. Fourth, good listening skills to understand customer messages. Fifth, role clarity that shows service employees to act as boundary spanners. And the last one is employees who engage in organizational citizenship behaviors. The second one is managerial actions. There are 2 of it. The first one is Select new employees with personality and attitudes consistent with high service orientation. Train and socialize current employee to be more customer focused. Change organizational structure to give employees more control and empower employees to make decisions about their jobs. The second managerial action is lead by conveying a customer-focused vision and demonstrating commitment to customers. It conducts performance appraisals based on customer-focused employee behaviors. And last one, provide ongoing recognition for employees who make special efforts to please customers. Next is about spiritually and organizational culture in workplace spirituality. So workplace spirituality means the recognition that people have an inner life that nourishes and is nourished by meaningful work that takes place in the context of the community. There are 5 characteristics of workplace spirituality, which is strong sense of purpose, focus on individual development, trust and openness, employee empowerment, and toleration of employee expression. The last one is how organizational culture have an impact on performance and satisfaction. As you can see, there is one table below. The objective factors are innovation and risk-taking, attention to detail, outcome orientation, people orientation, team orientation, aggressiveness, and stability. In organizational culture, there are the highs and lows, which is in the performance or satisfaction. That's all from us. Thank you.